going to arise out of this business in the business scenario. So I think we have a very apt speaker and a very apt topic, face it. And I feel the topic itself says that we have to confront head on the issues which are going to challenge us in the near future. And we have such a wonderful speaker amongst us, and she has crossed a lot of adversities, and she is the right person to really walk us through these, the kind of things we can do to improve our business scenario. Once again, we welcome you, madam.
Thank you, sir.
And now, and now I request Rotarian Maruti to introduce this Rotabus, this initiative which we are now experiencing right now, and also after that, also introduce our guest speaker for the evening, Anjali. So over to Maruti.
Good evening, everybody, and my very special good evening to our speaker today, Ms. Anjali.
Good evening, sir. How
Friends, this Rotabus, you must be wondering what this is. This is Rotary Business School, and it's been titled as Rotabus. It's a lovely initiative from Rotary Club TRICHIRAPPALLI, Phoenix. The brainstorming was done between Rotarian Selvakumar and Nataraja Sundaram, the current president. And the president said, let us not do it with our club alone, let's rope in clubs from various districts so that good speakers can come and address the business community, basically we Rotarians, so that not only during this crisis and henceforth also we get the, the knowledge share from eminent speakers. And this is why we are here. And this is, thank you so much for Rotary TRICHIRAPPALLI, Phoenix. And thanks again to Rotary Selvakumar for having a big team with you. So let's enjoy this Rotabus, and this journey is going to go on. And we'll all be listening to eminent speakers like Ms. Anjali, who's come forward today. And part of the team, of course, starting with Rotarian Nataraja Sundaram, the president, TRICHIRAPPALLI, Phoenix, Rotarian Selvakumar from the same club, Rotarian S. Ravi Kumar from Tiruppur East, Rotarian V. Sundar from Pondicherry Galaxy, Rotarian J. Dinesh Babu from EastCoast Ramnad, Rotarian Devasenavali from Chinnasalem, Rotarian Dinesh from Colombo Centennial, Rotarian S.R. Prabhukumar from Madras Mount. This is the team right now with TexCity in it, Rotarian Kamal Kumar being the president. Now, I also have the privilege of introducing to you our guest speaker, Ms. Anjali Rajgopal. Ms. Anjali Rajgopal is an identity advocate who has spoken at many esteemed forums such as TEDx, Napier Bridge, IIT Chennai, Toastmasters, Masterclass, and Rotary's University Outreach events in India. Her speeches engage with overcoming obstacles, identity battles, self-esteem reclamations, and living the best life possible regardless of challenges, which we are right now all of us are facing. She has connected with many audiences across the board, ranging from corporate professionals, social change makers, and student bodies. Using her own story as a pivot, she injects her sense of humor to ease people into confronting issues of acceptance and reconciliation with life and circumstances. Ms. Anjali headed the e-commerce division of Indian Terrain, a premier retail brand we all know, which was established in year 2000. Indian Terrain, as it is listed in both BSE and NSE, has a turnover of over 700 crores with the pan-India presence. The brand includes both Indian Terrain for men as well as for Indian Terrain Boy, which was born in 2015. The brand is represented in 1,000 plus multi-brand outlets, 320 plus large format stores, as well as 150 exclusive brand outlets. Ms. Anjali has been instrumental in establishing e-commerce as a brand's fourth avenue channel by facilitating its robust presence all across major platforms. The brand is now on Myntra, Jabong, Flipkart, Amazon, Azure, Paytm, Tata Click, First City, and its own brand site. Ms. Anjali also managed her own PR firm, Touch PR, based out of Chennai, focusing on retail, hospitality, and author artists. She holds vast experience in PR and corporate communication, as she has worked with top firms such as Fin Partners in New York City. Ms. Anjali also has significant experience in media, having worked with NDTV Chennai Live 104.8 FM and Deccan Chronicle as a show host, producer, radio host, and columnist, respectively. Ms. Anjali has a bachelor degree in international relationship and economic forum, from the University of Chicago and Santiago, as well as Masters of Science in PR and Corporate Communication from New York University. She also holds a digital marketing certificate from LIBA. Friends, we have with us Ms. Anjali, and over to you, ma'am. It's a pleasure inviting you for our program. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation to address us. Over to you.
Thank you so much, sir. Good evening to all of you. I first want to thank Mr. Selvakumar for being so kind to invite me. We have met a few years ago, and he has since then been following me online, offline, and very excited, sir, to come back and be of service to you at this esteemed occasion. So thank you to Mr. Selvakumar, and so excited that all of you are here on an evening when COVID is hopefully just about to dissipate, but many, many more challenges ahead. So thank you for reading out that introduction. I know it was a little long, and this kind of reminds us to make it a little shorter next time when someone is going to read it out. So just a little, and I always have the pleasure of saying this, my PR company's name was Touche, and everyone has trouble pronouncing it. So trust me, this happens every time. So how is everyone doing? Hope you all are doing well. And like Mr. Selvakumar quite rightly has chosen the topic, sir, thank you for choosing the topic as Face It, because this is a subject that I have been very passionate about, not just, you know, when COVID started, but also pretty much throughout my entire life. So let's start with sort of talking about what is everyone discussing right now is the need of the hour in COVID. It's resilience. Everyone is talking about being resilient, being tough, being strong. You know, how are we going to get through this as people, our businesses? The concerns are, I'm sure, aplenty, and I'm sure you are all as worried as is the rest of the world. So let me talk a little bit about resilience, because for me, resilience did not start when COVID started. For me, resilience became something that was necessary even before my 19th birthday. So when I was young, I was actually born in Lucknow, raised in Chennai. And my father is an ex-IPS officer turned businessman. Currently, we run 2 businesses, Indian Terrain and Celebrity Fashions. I was heading towards my 19th birthday and did not realize that I was heading straight towards the beginning of the end of my life. So I was traveling to Bangalore with my mother and a colleague in the car, and the driver was going extremely fast. And as you know, as you all know, in 2002, there were no airbags. Luckily, I had a seatbelt on. And the driver drove straight into an oncoming truck without stopping. And this was on the Madras Bangalore highway. Subsequent to that, I sustained 400 plus skull fractures. I lost my vision. I lost my sense of smell. And I had pretty much no choice but, to give up. And my father at that point of time was extremely, obviously, both I was injured in the accident, as was my mother. And my father, who had always taught me to always look for solutions and not for problems, was looking for a solution while I was about to die in his arms. So he then found a set of surgeons in Chicago who agreed to take on the case just as an experiment. Because craniofacial reconstructive surgery, which is what I needed at that time, was a very, very complex procedure, not done much in many parts of the world, even in the US. So I had lost my face. I had lost most of my vision. In fact, the first couple of months, I was actually blind after my accident. And I was a girl that was full of dreams. The day before, the morning of that accident, I had been planning to go to do my undergrad in the US, and I was writing my exams for it, and the trip was just supposed to be a visit to my grandmother. What was a visit to my grandmother turned into something that I could never have imagined for myself ever. I was one of those typical overachievers in school, sports, studies, theater, dancing, singing, swimming, all of it. And I had, I obviously, like we all do, we bet on ourselves. I was betting on myself as an 18-year-old. And as a 19-year-old, I was betting on nothing. I had nothing on my side. So my father flew me to the US, and I then subsequently remained in the hospital for 2 years. I spent my 19th, 20th, and 21st birthday in the hospital, having multiple surgeries. And unfortunately, the doctors who operated on me had never seen me before. So basically, they ended up giving me a face that was not mine. They also were unable to restore my eyesight. So I was then left with only 25% of my eyesight, which is pretty much the case even today. And I also could not smell. And I was generally, and I don't like this word, but for all ostensible purposes, I was disabled. So usually when I'm sure all of you look in the mirror, you expect to see yourselves. I looked in the mirror and I saw a stranger. I saw a stranger who wasn't just not me. She was broken, she was devastated, and she could barely see or do anything. So what this accident, which I guess I could call my COVID in a sense, which was very colossal, left me battling with multiple things, not just with who I was, what I looked like, but also with regards to what were my dreams. Because I'm sure all of you are reflecting on what your goals and dreams were when you started your respective industries or your respective jobs. And now you're being put into a situation where you have no idea whether you are going to achieve them or not, especially if your abilities are going to be taken away. And that's exactly what happened with me a very, very long time ago. So I thought to myself, was I going to change my dreams and my goals? Was I going to lessen them? Was I going to be a victim? And do the things that pretty much how everyone says, oh, ella tu seri, I know. But Selvakumar sir knows this, and I've told him this, that everything will not become okay. And we do have to face up to our challenges and change some things about ourselves. So I still wanted to study in the US. I wanted to have a career. I wanted to be independent. But I was left in a wheelchair. I was left in a wheelchair, and I was unable to walk or see or even recognize myself. So the question I was asking, and I'm sure many of you are asking now, and I'm sure you've seen other challenges in your lives as well, is where do we go from here? I'll tell you what I did. I mean, this is my story. I decided that I would not change my dreams and aspirations, regardless of what had happened. I ended up applying to university. I studied across the United States. I did my undergraduate degree, as Sir said, in the University of Chicago. I went to the University of San Diego. I went and lived in Mexico for 6 months. I learned Spanish. I learned how to dance, the salsa, the merengue, the bachata. I lived a very, very free and independent life while accepting the circumstances that I was left with. For example, I can't see a lot. So I do a lot of my sensory through hearing, and I speed, because I can read, I can't see as much as others. I read very slowly. So I started to learn to speed read. I'm sure when all of you are sitting in board meetings and looking at your Excel sheets, I usually can only see one block, which is one box. So if anyone is going to change the cursor, I usually cannot see anything. So, but what I did was I compensated for those deficiencies by working harder, by not changing my dreams and dreaming actually even more bigger and even more audaciously. So subsequent to that, I studied across the US, like was mentioned earlier. I came back to India in 2007. I decided to take up a career in media. So I joined NDTV as a show host and an anchor. I joined Chennai Live 104.8 FM as a radio jockey. I wrote a column for Deccan Chronicle just as Chennai was opening up to the page 3 scene when there was much to be written about in fashion and lifestyle. And then when I came to 2010, when I reached an intellectual ceiling, as I said to myself, I went back to the US, to New York University, to do my master's in PR and corporate communication. I then continued to work there, worked in multiple companies after my MS degree, and then came back to India in 2013. And my father's an entrepreneur, so the spirit of entrepreneurship never, like they say, that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So I wanted to start my own business, which I did, and I started Touche PR, which was an independent public relations agency that worked with authors, artists. Indian Terrain, of course, was our client, and multiple other issues of reputation management. I ran that for 3 years and then wanted to accomplish something more and of greater scale. So that's when I joined Indian Terrain as the head of digital marketing, and which then increased to the to me incubating. Just hang on a second. To me incubating the e-commerce division, which was the fourth revenue channel of Indian Terrain. When I took over that, Indian Terrain was not a technology centric company at that point. This was 2017, like I said. We had stores, we had trade partners, we had large format stores, but e-commerce was a non-starter at that time. And I've always been someone who's looked for opportunity when usually others don't see much. So I started the e-commerce division, partnered with multiple platforms, and grew the business from 3 crores to 89 crores in 9 months. So that is like 2000% plus growth as far as e-commerce was concerned. And now it is a 17% contributor to the revenue channel. So so this brings us to 2019, when I had always, while my accident had left me struggling in multiple ways, when, like I said, when I look in the mirror, I don't see the girl that I was born as. I see the person my doctors created, which was very, very far from what I expected myself to be. And I sort of pretty much came into 2019 growing the e-commerce business. But unfortunately, like they say, trouble doesn't always stray very far. So what happened was I actually had to undergo another surgery in 2019 June. And what happened was, it was actually something that was a complication that was left behind from the surgeries I had in 2002, 3, and 4. So one of the doctors said that, it was very critical. They had to rush me to Mumbai. I had to stop working. And then I had another surgery, which took another 4 months for me to recover from. So subsequent to that, I've always been somebody who's been questioning my identity, questioning my purpose, questioning what more can I do, and not what am I left with, which very much I think resonates with with the situation you all are facing today. So when I came out of that surgery, I thought, what more do I want to do with my life? And I decided that I wanted to go for an MBA in 2021, hopefully at Harvard, Wharton, or Stanford, which are my dream schools, and which is what I'm working towards right now. So during this time, I realized that not just was I embracing my identity in its entirety in terms of all of my dreams and aspirations, that I felt I had a duty towards other people to help them do the same as well. So luckily in 2019 December, I got an opportunity to do a TEDx talk on identity, which then subsequently went viral, and I got the opportunity to put a team together and began another career as a motivational speaker, which is what I'm doing today. So that is pretty much a fast-tracked version of what my story is. But the themes that I wanted to connect with all of you today is the fact that often we are not given choices. We are left with very little, not even very little. Sometimes we are left with nothing. Some of us are going to end up on the other side of COVID with nothing, with absolutely nothing. And we are going to be left with two choices. One is to believe that our dreams have been shattered, or the other is that have we been given an opportunity to build something new or build something stronger? Because I will tell you, gentlemen and ladies, that the life that I have now is 20 times more what I ever dreamed I could have, even before the accident happened. I have lived across multiple countries, I've had multiple careers, I've had multiple successes, and I've had the opportunity to meet with multiple people. But what I think often a lot of speakers don't say, but I want to say today, is that I've also experienced multiple failures. If you can see, my journey began with a colossal failure that, similar to all of your current experiences, was not my fault, was just thrust upon me, was given to me with absolutely no explanation as to why me. And I'm sure all of you are asking yourself, like, why us? I mean, even if you do share this thought with the rest of the world, it is extremely unfair, it is extremely unfortunate, and it's definitely something that we are not prepared for. Because I will take you back to the 19-year-old girl who celebrated her birthday in the hospital without being able to see. I didn't expect my 19th birthday to look like that, and I'm sure all of you don't expect your next birthdays to look the way they may look. But unfortunately, we are often given circumstances that we feel that we cannot deal with at that point. But I urge you all not to decide not to be disabled, to decide not to give in to such labels, and to take on the opportunity that this gives to you, which is to rise again, rise from the ashes, be your own phoenix, because you can. I'm not able to see the gentleman who is in front of me. Are you all able to hear me?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes,
so
madam.
that pretty much, I mean, I wanted to put this in context of Face It, which is really the topic for today, because while my stories of resilience have had to come up when I was very young, I've always used that theme of resilience throughout my life. And not everything I tried to do was successful. Often I was always slower than the other person. I just found ways to be faster and better. If you ask me, if you give me a reading competition with somebody who has 100% vision, I will probably lose that battle, but I will win because I choose what I read selectively. So if that is an analogy for you all to use with your futures, I think that we can look at coming out of COVID with a different attitude and a different experience than what you're feeling right now, which I'm sure is a great deal of devastation. So do you all have questions for me, or should I proceed with this? Selvakumar sir, how would you like to go forward?
You can proceed, madam. Proceed.
Okay. So I wanted to talk about preparing for war, because business, like they say, the biggest principle of business is when I went to, in fact, when I started my PR program in my master's in New York, the first book we got was a book called War Fighting. And I asked my professor, why have you given us a book with military strategy in it? Because he said, Anjali, that is what business is all about. And I ask you that, do you prepare for war in times of peace, or do you prepare for war in times of war? Because right now, actually experiencing peace, we are getting some time to prepare for the war that is ahead of us. So when I look at what I am doing in terms of when COVID came my way, I am choosing to prepare for what I'm going to do next with my life, whether it have to do with education or with identity, or what I eventually will bring back to Indian terrain, if that's what I choose to do at a later point. So I guess the question is, we all need to look at what we can do now in terms of preparing ourselves better for what's to come. So if I'm to share a few anecdotes about times when, I was dealing with, because the whole my COVID in a way was my disability. More than the way I looked, I think I struggled more from not being able to see enough. So every time I took a flight, and I used to travel to Bangalore very often for business, I used to also go to the east part of India because I had a lot of business in the east, in Assam, in West Bengal, etc. I would trip on every flight stair, and I would never be able to see the entire Excel sheet. But the question was, what would I do to compensate for that? Yes, I had to be more careful. I had to practice more. I had to know my numbers, probably by heart rather than from the presentation. But I prepared for it, and I was ready for it. And to be honest, I have been able to beat this scourge as it has come over the past few years. But then again, it has been an 18, 19-year-long journey. And I'm sure that now I have a lot more maturity than I did when I was young and was facing those challenges. But I am sure that all of you are feeling some level of loss and devastation when you see yourselves walking in and perhaps hopefully out of COVID next. And some of the themes that I wanted to bring up was that some level of acceptance is going to be important. Like, for example, I accepted that I will never be able to drive. I mean, if I start driving, I'll probably crash every car there is. So some of the things that I've accepted is that I will not be able to drive. However, I will be able to hopefully one day make enough money to have somebody to drive me. And that in principle is the way I wish and hope all of you can look at your circumstances coming out of this situation. So I would be happy to take any questions if there are specific to business or to my story, because I believe that my story cuts across both acceptance, fighting, planning for the future, teamwork, leadership, the people, the teachers that I've managed to find, because spirit finds spirit. And as long as you have a fighting spirit, I believe that you will attract the resolution that you need. I see a lot of things in the chat here. So Selvakumar sir or whoever,
Yes.
How would you like to take this forward?
Madam, what are your thoughts on planning, especially in this uncertain days? Like, is there anything special you expect advices or an insight to our planning?
Definitely, definitely. I mean, as a not just as somebody who's seen life in its most devastating sense, I'm also somebody who keenly looks for opportunities. So when I came into Indian Terrain, as you know, it is a mature business. It's been around for 20 years. It's already well established. I needed to prove myself in that space. So the opportunity that I found was e-commerce, and I'm sure all of you can now see through COVID is that e-commerce and technology is going to be where you need to plan and invest in the future. Okay, old businesses need to start thinking differently. And if you have abilities, if you're running businesses which are brand related or service related, you can start looking at planning in investing more in technology or investing in e-delivering those services and perhaps those brands. I mean, I understand with perhaps infrastructure or mills or factories, your bigger concerns will be capacities and wage cuts and dealing with keeping your staff and your workforce and keeping them as connected to you and as effective and as functional as they were even before COVID. So I think there are multiple things to plan for. One part would be to look for an opportunity if your industry is such that it permits for building an e-commerce business. I would recommend that. If it is not, I would work much more on planning for leadership in the future, because the kind of leadership that has been there until COVID is significantly have to change. And you're going to have to convince people to stay with you, even though their lives, even though their wages are cut or their lives are not as good as they used to be. How will you be able to lead such people into effectively being on your team, being on your side, and continuing to remain with you for the years to come? I think at this time, entrepreneurs and business owners need to share with their teams the spirit and the strength of their story and their belief system. I think leadership often has to take other levels of leadership with them. And this I said at a recent speech of mine at CII, where I said leaders need to create leaders and not followers. Because creating followers is just an additive process, whereas creating leaders is a multiplicative process. So the most important investment that I think you need to plan and make for the upcoming days is in your next line of leadership, is the people who report to you, that they need to turn into versions of you so they can then convince their next line of command to be versions of them, to hold everyone together with the same belief system that you had when you started the business. Because that is what is needed today. You're going to have to rise from the ashes like it is day one and not all the years that have passed.
Yes, madam. Next question is from Dr. Raja Govindaswamy. He is National President of JC.
Formally.
Former President of JCI. Please, sir, time is yours.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
How are you?
Fine. As a globetrotter, how do you find the Indian mindset in comparison with other nationals? Because you spoke about resilience, and as a resilience characteristic, we find that very often we are told we resign ourselves to the situations and go back to normalcy. How do you find the new generation in India? What's the trend that you see so that we can post-COVID recover faster and do better? Please give us some kind of an indication as to what's the mindset of India in general in the recent times.
I think it's a brilliant question, sir. Fantastic. I mean, this is really, really a wonderful question. In fact, I've been doing a lot of these sessions lately, and I always look forward to the questions I get asked, because it gives me an opportunity to say more than just what happened with me, because the real important thing is how I can bring my strength to be of use to all of you. So that's a very good question, sir. So let me answer that in two parts. India, in my experience, given that I grew up here, then went away for 14 years and came back, how shall I say this technically? I have found that some of the older generations, okay, and first of all, India as a whole is extremely stratified, sir. And there are different, we're talking about different classes, different levels of education, different sectors. So it's very hard to make a blanket statement. But India in general, as you rightly said, tend to resign themselves to the circumstances rather than take control and rather than be aggressive, because we as Indians don't like being aggressive. We think being aggressive is a bad word. But I am somebody who thinks that being aggressive is often good. Sometimes you need to act first and act fast. The good news is that the new generation, the new crop of people that you're seeing in the earlier at the training level and at the junior levels of management are all now more in line with speaking out, speaking their mind, being aggressive, negotiating for themselves, much more than the generations we saw go before. For example, I know that people who are extremely senior to me in a few of the organizations where I worked, for example, they would feel reluctant to talk about revising their salaries. For example, they would wait for the HR to bring it up, or they wait for their bosses to bring it up. I can see with the young people of today, they are extremely ready to negotiate and push for what is good for themselves. However, that I find sometimes is a little bit negative as well, because Generation Z tends to be a little bit entitled and without necessarily knowing the amount of hard work that is needed to go into actually building a business or being a quality professional. While some of the messages of the West are coming off, which is, ask for what you deserve, negotiate for the best deal. I think the pursuit of excellence is what India needs right now, which is a blend of the generations gone before and the new generations today. So if I were able to pick and choose from both, I would pick the aggression and the ready to do attitude of the youngsters, whereas some of the consistency and the excellence that is there in the entrepreneurs that went before. So in terms of an opportunity, I think you can definitely look at galvanizing the youngsters because they are not afraid to fight. Because the youth of today are not, we are not getting married at 20 and 30. I'm in my mid-30s, not married. So a lot of young ladies and men are not saddled with wives and children. So they are ready to fight. So you can ask, if you are able to inspire them correctly, I think they will join your teams, fight for you, and be standing by your side till the very end. It is the question of the message, as long as they know what they're fighting for. So I think that, using a decentralized kind of very, how do you say, bureaucratic kind of methodology will not work in galvanizing the youngsters of today. But I think what you can potentially get out of the generations who are in your workplace today is multifold. Because people are now open to working 2 shifts, people work around the clock, they are not fussy, the things that were not that because technology was not there before. So your 9 to 5 was stuck. Right now you can have 2 guys going 24 hours, right? So and people are now getting to, there are girls doing midnight shifts. So in principle, I think that India has now got the right generation in terms of flexibility to adapt to what you may need to come out of this successfully in the future. But my question is, are the leaders of today able to speak their language? Are you able to, because I think because everyone has a cell phone and access to cafe coffee day. The question is, do we all have access to the right kind of inspiration? So if the leaders can be inspiring and make them feel that their jobs are a bigger battle and of larger meaning than just providing a meal, I think you can find a wonderful support in your organizations.
So a tag to that question. How would you put it? More mentors or buddies who can work together and make it?
I think I am definitely more of mentorship.
Very good.
Thank
you.
Definitely mentors. Definitely mentors.
Thank you very much.
There are buddies everywhere.
I know. I do.
Time plus one.
Thank you.
Definitely not buddies. I would, because I think a level of, but I think it's an excellent question, sir, because a lot of people get confused. Sometimes, our bosses feel that they need to, while, I'll tell you, this is something interesting, but this is a relationship that I have with my father. Whereas he may be somebody I can talk to about anything in terms of being my buddy, but we don't cross that level because he continues to remain my mentor as somebody, because he wasn't just my father, he was also my chairman, which is very difficult. So it is, so when we, you know, often a lot of us, especially in the South, are in family businesses, even if we are publicly listed companies, you have youngsters such as your, you know, your daughters or sons' age who are reporting to you or reporting to your juniors. And you want to know how to get in with them or to be relatable with them, but you can be relatable without necessarily having to go down the buddy route.
Right.
I mean, I think that, you know, we can talk about movies or girlfriends or whatever it is, but I think what the youth are missing is purpose. So if, and I think only a mentor can give you purpose. I think your buddy is when you let your guard down.
Thank you. So well said.
Leave that to the girlfriends, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We have Rotarian Arulmari Selvan. He has a question for you.
Past District Governor 2981.
Yeah, madam,
Yes,
I am Dr. Arul.
yes, sir.
I just want to know, you have spent quite a long time inside the hospitals. During such time, how you are able to manage your mindset? Because most of the patients, what I am seeing now, when they come inside the hospital, they feel depressed and they think that they will never come out of their sickness. And whatever amount of time spent over their confidence, the doctors fail. That's number one. Number two is, from that journey to you have come to a really a different level of place. What is the kind of advice you want to give it to the people?
Fantastic question, sir. Selvakumar, sir, this is all gold over here you have. So it's all gold. Thank you, doctor, for that question. In fact, before I tackle that question, if you don't mind, I'll share a couple of stories from the hospital. Because when I was in the hospital, I think because it was such an extended period of time, 2-3 years, I saw all aspects of humanity. And the reason I say this is because my jaws were shattered during the human spirit and the extreme callousness of the human spirit. So I had nurses that came in and saw me and told me stories, even though I couldn't respond to them, told me stories, what they had been doing. They brought me teddy bears, and I thought they were all fantastic. Then one night, I was, the nurses used to come in 2 shifts. So they had to actually come change my drip and continue on through the night. So the nurse that came in the night time had to wait about 2 minutes to change the bottle in my drip. And she released the clip. So while I couldn't scream or say anything, and this is what she realized, that I couldn't protest, she let it release, and I saw my vein burst and my entire hand went black. So why the reason I shared that with you is that I saw both extremes of human kindness and human callousness. And I think while being silent, my ears and brain kind of only had each other for company, because I couldn't speak to anyone. So this was a loneliness of greater kind than even one where you can speak. So I realized that pretty much there was, I'll tell you some of the thoughts, while I was in the hospital bed, at least the silence was manageable. When I to me that this would happen. So that was when I realized that I truly only had myself in this world. Because even my parents had lost their daughter in a way. My grandparents had lost their daughter. My friends had lost their friend. I had lost myself. So unless I held on to, and the only thing I held on to at that point was that I came to this earth to do something, I'm going to finish it and go. And I was not going to let nature or God or a doctor or anybody else take that decision for me. And till date, I'm holding on to that decision. The fact that I get to choose whether I succeed or I fail, not because my face got smashed, not because I cannot see, not because I cannot drive, not because of any of these reasons. But to come back to Doctor's question about managing loneliness and frustration, and I think that I went into my body and mind went into a fighting mode. So there were so I used to every day, in fact I made this as a somewhat crude joke in TEDx, where I said I was the only person who outlived everyone else in the ICU, because the guy on the left hand side would die and the guy on the right hand side would die, and they would just keep dying, and I was the only one who was there every day. So I was like, this has got to be some kind of extremely cruel joke, or there is a reason for me to be here. So when, so doctor, as you know, they tied me up to those multiple, those
Yes.
cord which you have to drag
Yes.
along with you. So, but the good thing is in the US, they pushed me. They didn't say pavam, they didn't say parvale. They were like, and then and then one day they refused to give bedpan. So I was like, okay, you have to walk. So in some way, I'm very grateful to the doctors and the nurses for being, at that time, I thought they were cruel. Even my father would leave the hospital because he thought that they were just being too rough with me. But I think that's what made me fight back, because they said we would not take away the bedpan if we didn't think you could go by yourself. Right? So, I mean, so I'll be honest, it was like while I was alone in my head with my thoughts and my fears of the unknown, because the face was unknown, the vision was unknown, the life was unknown, I didn't know what I would be able to do. I just knew one thing, that I wasn't going to let the world have the last laugh. This was, even if I die, it will be my decision, not somebody else's decision. So to tell you, that was the one thought that took me through. And in fact, if I can share this, I actually was planning to apply for college in the US, but I was stuck in the hospital. So obviously I couldn't write any essays and all of that. So I dictated my essay to someone who sent it to the admissions office at Chicago. And the admissions office actually came to the hospital and interviewed me for my admission. So I was grabbing opportunities, whether they were given to me or not, in every which way. And I guess I do know that other patients tend to struggle with this, because obviously I was also PTSD at that point, subsequent to which I, have gone and got help and all of that. I just realized that I wasn't going to give up. And I think intrinsically patients need to find that. And as long as they know that, they're not going to let the disease or the situation have the last say in the matter, I think you can keep going. In fact, most people thought that I would remain a vegetable in a wheelchair in 2002. And most of them just look at me and have no idea how I'm here today and doing the things that I'm doing. And like I said in my last sentence at TEDx, I said the bucket list which I made for myself in my life is already finished. And people, and technically I'm disabled. So how does this happen? How do you reconcile that? But I reconcile that because I did not because I am not a victim. I refuse to be a victim. My story is always going to be something of at least some semblance of heroism. And I will keep fighting till the last day. And I think that's what I did. And I really hope this and wish and pray for other patients to feel the same way. But I understand that sometimes their challenges mentally and physically can seem insurmountable.
When most people, and especially girls, when you're in an ICU fighting for your life, at that point of time, you want to fight back and achieve something in life, and then applying for your courses, and you're not able to do, asking people to write for you. I don't know, when I read through your profile, I was so eager to listen to you, but now I'm truly inspired. And thanks for the question asked by our PDG. Wonderful, ma'am. And in fact, my 20, how old are you? 23-year-old daughter, she's here listening to you. And
Hi.
And she's so impressed. Thank you so much, ma'am. Goes to Rotary Centennial.
I think, may I say one more thing? You know, because my mother and I were both injured in the car accident. My father was left with a chaotic situation with the two women in his life just, you know, removed for the most part. But so my father and I forged a very interesting relationship because we both had no idea what we were getting into in Chicago. We had no idea what was going to happen. Each surgery would be over 24 hours. We still have a joke amongst ourselves that, you know, in the middle of my surgery, the doctors came out and they said they were hungry. So my father ordered a pizza. Okay. So he wonders, he's like, "Enamo and the pizza ulla poirukumo? Anga edavadu ulla potrukama." Like, we actually joke about this. And I feel humor is very, very important, especially when life is extremely difficult, extremely dark. We always kept ourselves laughing as a family, because even though, you know, because there's a lot, because life actually gives you a lot to laugh about. Even though, you know, one can only, when you look at the dark side, me and my father always had a good kind of rapport going on through the hospital. And he has seen me rise and fall, but both of the times he has let me experience that for myself. So I think the first aspect that a parent does is try to fix things or save. Because see, most of the time post an accident like this, எல்லாரும் என்ன சொல்லுவா, இல்ல வீட்ல வெச்சுக்கலாம், let's keep the girl at home, ஏதாவது வேற ஏதாவது ஆகக்கூடாது kind of thing. That was the time he set me free. So in principle, with my biggest thing to other patients would be is to consider yourself not limited by what has happened, but to take the opportunity to keep pressing on, because you really don't know what you can do. I honestly did not see myself having achieved all of these things by this age, and now I'm sitting and writing a new list for myself about things I want to do, and I'm still doing them. I mean, do I feel but I think the bigger I guess, if I were to, and because doctor asked that, the biggest hurdle to be crossed, I would say, is acceptance. As long as you keep fighting non-negotiables, you will continue to be miserable and depressed. If you see, I am not fighting the fact that I can't see. That has already been decided. So rather than engage with that, I engage with the things that I can do. So as long as, because there are going to be some non-negotiables, and especially for other patients, people who lose limbs or lose faculties or whatever be the case, or lose time. Some people grieve the loss of time. I lost several years of my life. Maybe that's why a lot of people call me a little bit too extra right now, because I'm trying to make up for all that lost time. So it's, in fact, one of my teachers will say, he said he's never met a student like me in 22 years who studies for 12 hours a day. But I said, for 3 years, I was not studying, right? I was in hospital. So I'm now making up for it now. So I guess we all, I guess you have to look within for that level of strength. And I don't think it's physical strength. It's mental strength, and it's a great deal of inspiration. So I know that I was, because my parents put a lot into raising me, at least till the accident happened. So what was I going to show for that? Right? We all have to show something for our lives. And that would be I would always encourage every other patient to come out on the other side and then show people what you can do. Because I don't think we are the sum and substance of what happens to us. I think we're the sum and substance of the entire universe and what lies within us as well. That is the sum and substance, not what happened.
Thank you, madam. Next question is Brijesh.
Yes, Mr. Brijesh.
Yeah, Ms. Anjali, good evening. This is purely into business aspect. You are part of the brand Indian Terrain.
Yes.
I just want to check what was the idea behind endorsing MS Dhoni, and did it work for you, for the brand? I just want to hear from you, if you are part of that.
Yes, very much. I mean, I think I'm at liberty to say, yes, it worked for us. And it worked for us, and it was something that, you know, as a brand, we had worked with other Bollywood actors in the past. But I think he encompassed the true spirit of the global Indian, which is what Indian Terrain, the Indian Terrain speaks to the Indian spirit. So in principle, I think he embodies that spirit, and he's also a classy looking guy. So if you've seen any of the pictures that are there from our shoots, I think he's been very open to the kind of, because we are not a formal brand, we are a casual wear brand, we are a sportswear brand. We believe in the American design sensibility. So I think he did very well for us in terms of not just the human being that he is, or his connection with IPL, or being a hero of the country, I think it worked out even aesthetically for us. So, but the main reason behind getting him on board, sir, was to have more brand salience in the north and the east. Because we are essentially, while we are not a South brand, 40% of our business comes from the South. So because we are based out of Chennai. So I think we needed a face that would have a lot of recall in the North and the East, where the mindset is very different and the outlook to fashion is also different.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. And we have
different
yeah.
when it comes to fashion.
Thank you.
We have a question from Rotarian Vijay Prabhudevan. Rotarian Vijay, are you there?
Good evening, sir.
Vijay, you can mute.
You can unmute Rotarian Vijay, and you can.
Vijay, you can unmute. Okay, next question is
the next question from Rotarian Muthu, DGND from District 3212.
Anjali ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Muthu sir is the.
Shall I go on, Selva Kumarji?
Yes, Governor. Konjam ungala introduce pannirunga, Governor.
Anjali, vanakkam.
Vanakkam, sir. Eppadi irukkel?
Na Rotarian Muthu, Virudhunagar, Idayam Nalanai theriyuma?
Yes, sir. Of course, theriyum. And the ad theriyum, and the product to theriyum, ella theriyum. While growing up, we used to hear that song.
Nalladhu. Idayam Nalanai vandu enga thayarippungiradha indha nerathila perumayoda sollikiren.
He is the chairman.
It's a pleasure to meet you, sir.
உங்களை சந்திக்கிறதுல ரொம்ப சந்தோஷமா இருக்கு. உங்களுக்கு நல்ல கண் பார்வை கிடைக்கணும்னு சொல்லி நான் ஆண்டவனை பிரார்த்திக்கிறேன். நிச்சயமா உங்களுக்கு கிடைக்கும்னு எனக்கு நம்பிக்கை இருக்கு. நீங்க எப்படி இழந்ததுல பெருவாரியா திரும்ப உங்களுக்கு கிடைச்சதோ அதே மாதிரி கண் பார்வை உங்களுக்கு கிடைக்கணும். திரும்ப நீங்க கார் ஓட்டணுங்கிறது என்னுடைய ஆசை.
That would be wonderful.
நாங்களும் பெல்ட் போடாம இனிமேல் கார்ல பயணம் பண்ண மாட்டோம்னு இந்த நேரம் நான் அஞ்சலிக்கு உறுதி சொல்றேன்.
Thank you, sir.
இன்னொரு முக்கியமான விஷயம் நான் சொல்ல விரும்புறது, தைரிய லட்சுமின்னு தமிழ்ல சொல்லுவாங்க. இதுவரைக்கும் நான் தைரிய லட்சுமியை நேரில் பார்க்கல, இன்னைக்கு பார்த்துட்டேன். அந்த வாய்ப்பை கொடுத்த தினேஷ் பாபுக்கு என்னுடைய நன்றியை தெரிவிச்சுக்கிறேன். இன்னொரு முக்கியமான விஷயம், இ-காமர்ஸ்ல வந்து 78% நீங்க பிசினஸ் பண்றதா சொன்னீங்க. இந்தியன் டெரைன் கரெக்டா?
Sorry, sir.
இ-காமர்ஸ்ல இந்தியன் டெரைனோட இ-காமர்ஸ் business alone amounts to 78%.
17. Not 78. Yeah.
Oh, I heard it 78.
No. They will not even allow that.
Okay. Can you share some of the experiences that you had while you did e-commerce marketing?
100%, sir. இது ரொம்பவே இம்பார்ட்டன்டான question. In fact, உங்களுக்கு தெரியும், at least எனக்கு அப்பா was the entrepreneur, he was the chairman. So அவரோட ஷேடோல இருந்து வெளியே வரதுக்கு ரொம்பவே it's very difficult. ஸோ நான் என்ன நினைச்சேன்னா, நான் என்ன பிசினஸ்க்குள்ள இருந்துட்டு நான் எப்படி ஒரு ஸ்டார்ட் அப் மென்டாலிட்டி எடுத்துட்டு வருது, நான் எதோட இந்த பிசினஸை எப்படி மெயின் பாயிண்ட் ஆஃப், பிகாஸ் நான் டிஜிட்டல் மார்க்கெட்டிங்கா ஜாயின் பண்ணேன். டிஜிட்டல் மார்க்கெட்டிங் இஸ் நாட் அ குவான்டிஃபையபிள் பிசினஸ். ஸோ எனக்கு என்னன்னா, ஐ நீடட் டு ப்ரூவ் மை செல்ஃப் இன் நம்பர்ஸ். நான் நம்பர்ஸ்ல எப்படி தன்னை ப்ரூவ் பண்றதுன்னு நினைச்சேன். இப்போ இ-காமர்ஸ் எல்லாரும் பண்ணிட்டு இருந்தாங்க, நான் பண்ணல. ஸோ I'm not able to see you, sir. It's getting. Can you just put the camera back on him?
Yeah.
Sir, can you put it back on him?
No, he's there only.
No, it's coming on to you. If you don't mind.
Okay. No. Anachi.
Muthu sir, ஏதாவது பேசுனீங்கன்னா உங்க கேமரா முன்னாடி வரும்.
Okay. I'm here.
Okay. Sorry, my bad. So I wanted to prove myself in terms of numbers, in terms of sales, and at that point, e-commerce, all the brands were doing it. So I decided to go to Bangalore, see what Myntra, Flipkart, Jabong, the rest of them were doing. Jabong is obviously no longer there, but I went and did some research and saw the amount of business that our competitors were doing, like Alan Solly and the rest of them, and they're doing immense amounts of business. And so I incubated e-commerce. So some of the challenges, some of the dealing with platforms is not a problem, because all of them are very well developed in Bangalore, and at that time Delhi, but now mostly Bangalore. Amazon is there. So those teams are extremely well developed and extremely good at onboarding us onto their platform. அந்த ஏரியால ப்ராப்ளமே கிடையாது. சப்போஸ் எங்களுக்கு பிசினஸ் பண்றதுக்கு இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் இருக்குன்னா ஜஸ்ட் போய் மீட் பண்ணி எங்களோட ப்ராடக்ட் பத்தி பேசி, எஸ்பெஷலி இட்ஸ் an established brand, கொஞ்சம் ஈஸியா இருக்கும். And they will help you onboard onto the platform. Challenges main எங்கேந்து வந்தது? Getting inventory, getting the right kind of inventory, pricing, discounting, and அதுக்கு மேல என்ன இஷ்யூனா 2 types of business இருந்துச்சு அந்த டைம்ல. SOR, which is sale and return, the other was outright. So என்னன்னா main need of the hour was direct to customer delivery. So நான் என்ன ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணேன்னா தன்னோட மார்க்கெட் பிளேஸ் ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணேன். சென்னையில எங்ககிட்ட திருவஞ்சேரின்னு ஒரு ஏரியால ஒரு வேர் ஹவுஸ் இருந்துச்சு. ஆக்சுவலா தேவன் எங்களோட மெயின் வேர் ஹவுஸ் மறைமலை நகர். ஸோ திருவஞ்சேரியில நான் ரிக்வெஸ்ட் பண்ணேன், ப்ளீஸ் கேன் ஐ யூஸ் திஸ் ஸ்பேஸ். அந்த வேர் ஹவுஸோட பாதி ஸ்பேஸை யூஸ் பண்ணி அதை ஒரு ஆன்லைன் மார்க்கெட் பிளேஸ் ஆக்கி ஐ ஸ்டார்டட் to have extra backup stocks from the marketplace area. So at any point of time, if they stocked out, especially during a festival or something, I would provide the SKUs from my personal marketplace. So konja pain points irunduchu sir. For example, onboarding easy ah irunduchu, ana engloda endla இந்த mature company ah irundittu we are used to our trade partners, channel partners. We are already very used to all of that. E-commerce la you have to, it's a 24/7 job. So main thing na getting the right kind of talent to understand that it is not a 9 to 5. You cannot check tomorrow, because by tomorrow you would have lost 6 crores. So it's because the kind of opportunity you have during online sale time and stuff is huge. So there are many aspects to it. I would say the digital marketing aspect is very big. So in terms of having working with the platform to make sure that you participate in the sale time, because ultimately what are we doing? We are taking advantage of their distribution. So Myntra and all of them have spent upwards of 500 crores on marketing alone, and at any point of time during the end of recent sale, they will have upwards of 25 million visitors. So எனக்கு அந்த மாதிரி eyeballs free la kadikirudhu. For example, if I am putting my product there, so என்னோட என்ன பாயிண்ட், எனக்கு I need to have my banners, I need to have the right inventory, I need to be, often I felt we needed to change to a very data driven kind of business. So that was the number one shift. Number 2 was to stay relevant, because the offline customer and the online customer may not necessarily be the same. Often your online customer is younger and much more price conscious. So you cannot, if I want to put 2499 trouser, naanga poda matai, doesn't make sense. So if I want to put a 2499 trouser, I will put it on my personal website where I don't offer that kind of discounting. So sometimes people try to get into e-commerce and try to buck the trend of discounting. The only brands that can do that, I believe, are Jockey and one other. So most other brands have to kind of give in. So I would suggest, what I started to do was I adjusted my MRP. So I started adjusting my MRP for all the upcoming season kind of products. So I would adapt for that and still be able to offer that so-called discount that people were looking for. Second is that I started to create lines which were specially made unit lines for SMUs for e-commerce alone, which will be, for example, a t-shirt in colors, very basic SKU, but that is what sells the most over there. Anga poi romba complicated ana or product, high value product pota engloda brand ku adu work avadu. That is better to be in the stores. So that was a level of understanding. So understanding inventory was also part of it. And I would say the biggest challenge, sir, 2 challenges. I would lose people to most people, because our office is in Tambaram. And as you know, Chennai, I might love Tambaram, but most of the young people don't. So it's nariya peru Bangalore ku poidva. Avalukku they don't want to come to Chennai. So that often I would lose a lot of young people on my team. They would prefer to go to Bangalore. So that was one challenge that I faced. Also distance from the city. Ipo nariya young people ella balance quality of life ella paakranga. Engalukku ella poi we just work all day because we feel it's our own business, right? But often I feel with the younger set it tends to not be like that. So the other challenge I would say would be inventory management, in terms of, while I would stock well and stock correctly, ERP systems tend to not work. You know, in the middle of a crisis, middle of the night, they will have to raise a manual invoice. So it is usually systemic. So I found it the challenge. Every time I adopted a process that worked, I was able to scale the business. And every time I tried to get into this, getting a person to fix it, I would say keep betting on technology and start to bet a little lesser on people when it comes to e-com, because e-com attrition rates are very high. So just keep in mind that I have kept in mind that people will come and go. So as long as my technology is strong and my processes are strong, you can continue to scale.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Thank
You so much for your wishes. I am so touched. And I am sure that with your blessing, hopefully some of it will come back.
நீங்க விருதுநகருக்கு அடுத்து உங்களை விருதுநகருக்கு அழைக்கிறோம். நீங்க அவசியம் வரணும்.
Definitely.
இந்த மாதிரி ஒரு இன்ஸ்பைரிங்கா எங்க டீச்சர்ஸுக்கு, எங்க காலேஜ் ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ்க்கு எல்லாம் நீங்க பேசணும் அப்படிங்கிறது என்னுடைய ஆசை. இன்னொரு விஷயம், என்னோட சன், என்னோட டாட்டர் இன்லா, அவங்க பெரும்பாலும் இ-காமர்ஸ்ல ரொம்ப லயிச்சு போயிருக்கிறாங்க. நமக்கு அந்த பழக்கம் வராது. நமக்கெல்லாம் கொஞ்சம், நமக்கு இல்ல, எனக்கு கொஞ்சம், நான் 60க்கு மேல, அதனால இ-காமர்ஸ்ல அவ்வளவு இன்வால்வ் ஆக முடியல எங்களால. நாங்க முந்தின ஜெனரேஷன் இல்லையா? ரொம்ப சந்தோஷமா. நன்றி, மனமார்ந்த நன்றி. வணக்கம். வணக்கம்.
Thank you, Ms. Anjali. You are spot on with the information. And Muthu sir, I've always been a big fan of yours. The Iridium brand, your marketing aggressiveness, and it's a pleasure meeting you today.
Absolutely, I'm very aggressive. Most people will complain when they work for me in the beginning. I'll be honest with you, 9 out of 10 of them run away. But the ones that stay are absolute mercenaries, sir. You'll see there'll be some very soft looking girls and all, but they're not. Each girl handles 6 crore business by herself. So it's but I have so actually I've had a little bit of a especially I'm sure you have felt this as well, but I've had some people who disagree with my kind of management also. But I believe that they have to be I think I used to push them a lot. Okay, because I'm not necessarily because I have been pushed, but because I believe that they are often much more capable of what they think they are capable when they come. When they come, they have been told that, oh, unglale indu mudiyo adu mudiyo. I give them a lot of responsibility and I work with them on a daily basis. So na daily 2 hours training pannuve one on one. But in the so na solva, if you want to cry, go to the bathroom and cry. Go cry, finish crying and come back. Then I'll still, but at the end, when we have the numbers, we will hug each other. But right now, I'm not going to hug you. So we can keep this thing. So now when I speak to them, now that I've taken a break, now I'm studying, doing motivation speaking, and recently I want to meet Pananga. Enna Anjali ivlo meduva pesre? I said, why? She said, in the speed na, ayo idella engaloda speed kadiyadu. You have to speed. So then I realized what I've created. But some of the people, I think that they get very attached. I have found that the people that are in my team were very attached to me, but it took some time. In the beginning, I think they felt all kinds of things. So I told them, just if you can put your feelings aside and just focus on what you accomplish, nobody can take the numbers away from you. Right? Your feelings will change. Today is a good day, tomorrow is a bad day. It goes, and we have very, very colorful days. We're a very colorful country. People are constantly feeling emotions. So while I say your emotions are valid, try to keep them out of the way when it comes to your numbers. And the thing is, once they develop that, they're only looking for opportunities. So wherever there is a gap, we were actually hauled up because we took so much business away from the offline business. So because the 3 crores, 9 months, 3 crores to 89 crores, we became in 9 months. So we snatched the inventory. Na raatri ella avangala thoongumbodhu na warehouse ku poi inventory edpen. Naangala romba crazy. So abdiye inventory kachchina we will take it. So sometimes even within a big organization to grow e-commerce, you have to fight, because like Sir was saying correctly, the older generation is not very big fans of e-commerce. Okay, they think we are devaluing the product, number one. Okay, they think we are devaluing, we're offering discount, we're doing mass. But so there is a middle ground though. There is a middle ground which you have to constantly keep telling them that we are not doing this. So often எனக்கு ஒரு ரொம்ப ஃபன்னியா ஒரு என்னோட ஆஃப்லைன் ஸ்டோர்ஸ்ல கம்ப்ளைண்ட் பண்ணுவாங்க, மேம் நாங்க ஃபுல் பிரைஸ்ல சேல் பண்றோம், நீங்க ஹாஃப் பிரைஸ் 40%ல. I said, sir, அது முன்னாடி சீசன் ஸ்டாக் சார். They're like, madam, இந்த பேண்ட் பார்த்தா அந்த பேண்ட் பார்த்தா எல்லாம் சேமா தான் இருக்கு. So you cannot. But I said, sir, we do not, like, especially discounted product is never fresh product. These are some of the principles that important to use in e-commerce. A fresh product, especially in Indian, we will never sell fresh product at discounted rate. It will never go on discount until the very end of the season. And I remember once, and sometimes you can do some fun things, sir. For example, in XL and double XL, rumba nariya stock irunduchu. Shirts and pants. Okay. So end of season ku pona ella discount la poidum. So now I did one sale kind of, and sir will call, maybe you'll call it aggressive, but I said it's very cool to be fat. Okay. And I just said, put something. I said, it's cool to be, I said, why everyone is working out? How will you sell? If everyone goes to the gym, how will you sell XL and double XL? So I just said, everyone is like, be cool with your body. And we did a very alternative kind of marketing plan, and we sold all of it, and not at a discounted price. So I think that the shopper, the online shopper, is very, very, he's watching, he's reading, he's comparing with other brands. You just have to show him that what you've got is cool. அவனுக்கு அந்த கூல் ஃபேக்டர் வந்துச்சுன்னா he will buy. அந்த ஸ்டோருக்கு வர people எல்லாம் ப்ராடக்ட் பார்ப்பாங்க, அவங்களுக்கு ரிலேஷன்ஷிப் வேணும், பேசணும், they want to talk to that guy. சரி, நீ எனக்கு ஒரு 10 பேண்ட் வச்சு வை, நான் அப்புறம் வரேன். அந்த then they will come later. That is a very different kind of business. நாங்க எங்களோட பிசினஸ்ல, ஆனா I'll tell you one point. In e-commerce, you get paid every 15 days, sir. It is not that 6-month story, which is the case with trade partners. So என்னோட company ரொம்ப tight situationல இருக்கும்போது, I was the only one who was able to provide the liquidity for salaries.
Okay.
So sometimes the finance guy will say, can you release? Yeah. So he'll say, ma'am, can you release 6 crores in 2 days? Oh. I'll release it in 2 days. But that's because because Myntra is owned by Walmart, right? So these are American companies. They don't pay after 6 months. They will, every 15 days, you will get your payment. So that is another advantage. I completely understand, sir, that the margin is better. The margin is definitely better in an offline store. I agree with that. Your margin will be 30% odd. I'm just using my products. With my online product, it will be about 6. So what we lose out in margin, we make up in scale. So, you know, as long as the core economics are thought through, I think e-commerce and traditional business can live together in harmony.
Absolutely. Thank you, ma'am. And we have Rotary in Centennial. Yeah, thank you, sir. We have Rotary in Centennial. He has a question for you. Rotary in Centennial.
Good evening, ma'am. It's a very wonderful speech and you know, very inspiring. Like it remembers me the phoenix bird. One question I have is like,
Yes.
so given the choice of leadership and management, right? So which one is so tough to handle? And if it is leadership, right? So what are the qualities that we have to look for, and how better that we can achieve the targeted results?
Sorry, sir, there was some disturbance. Do you mind repeating the question, please? I was not able to hear you clearly.
Oh, sorry. The question is like, given the choice of leadership and management, right? So which one is tough to handle to achieve the target results?
So are you asking me which kind of leadership is better?
I mean, between leadership and management, right? So which is the toughest one to pick up, whether it is a leadership one or is it a management?
I think anybody can be a manager, sir. Even anyone can be a manager. Even the people who work in my house, even my drivers, everyone can be a manager. Because my driver is managing the car, the watchman is managing the house, I am managing my pen and pencil. So in principle, management, sir, I feel is a little bit overused, over accredited word. So my choice is always leadership. Leadership is the most difficult to embody, but once you learn to embody it, it is the most effective of all kinds of because anybody can be a manager, but very few people can be leaders, and of leaders, very few can be visionaries, but all of us have that capability. So my advice, if I can give anything, is that management should be a given. If you're not able to manage, you should not be in the job. Because where does management start? It starts with managing yourself, right? So managing, you need to get to places on time, need to manage your scheduling better, priorities better. This I say to a lot of younger people. So I'm sure that, you know, this is usually what I say to younger people, because I find their planning to be very, very bad. But I think leadership, the baseline of leadership is excellent management skills. So only when you have excellent management skills can you even look at becoming the kind of leader and inspiration, because nobody is going to be inspired if you do not know how to manage small things, right? So you're going to, I think a leader needs to be an example that people, and because like we say, everyone shops today for aspiration. Young people come to jobs because they want aspiration. So if they don't look at your life and want to have your life, they will not really want to work for you for very long. So you need to embody the kind of leadership, the kind of life, the kind of aspiration, and the kind of achievement that will make them all think that, wow, I want to be this person someday. And that is my definition of leadership. And it is more difficult to be a leader. I think anyone can be a manager.
Okay, nice explanation. Thank you, ma'am. Yeah.
Thank you so much. The next question is from Vijay Prabhudevan.
Hello, ma'am. Salute
evening.
to you, your inspiring story.
Thank you, sir.
Very salute. And your story is very special, and you are having very extraordinary abilities, and you are wearing many hats. Just 5 minutes, first 5 minutes itself, you steal the show. So I want to ask you a question. Is this success happened? Is it because of your father, or the accident which happened to you, or the education you have gone through, or the skill set? You are telling again and again that one particular attribute, aggressiveness, is it because of that, or risk-taking ability? What is it, or some of it?
Again, phenomenal question, sir. This is not a gold and platinum is coming out. No, I think it's a very good question, sir. It's a very good question. And I don't think it's one ability alone, but if I want, but I would think the baseline is that I don't take no for an answer. So if you want to take my life away also, I will say no. If you want to take the job also, I will say no. I also have trouble staying still. I need to keep moving. I have to constantly feel like I'm in a state of movement and growth. So whether it's intellectual growth or physical growth, there has to be some growth happening. So I think that definitely family background has to be credited in that we were always, I was always taught to find solutions and not point out the problem. Because my dad will always say, he'll say, I know the problem. You don't have to repeat it to me. Tell me the solution. And if you don't have a solution, don't say anything. So he would always say, he said, you have to earn the right to be in this world. You have to earn the right to have this privilege. And some interesting fact is, and the reason why my accident specifically was such a good leveler for me in a way is because everything I lost in the accident cannot be bought back with money. None of it. Nothing I can get back. So it doesn't matter into which family I was born, into who I was born to. So what I think is the most is that I fight for everything I want. I don't believe that it should come to me because I am somebody's daughter or in some business or whatever, because I feel like we all have to continue to establish our value every day. And for me, I need to respect myself first before I can even ask somebody else to respect me. So I never wanted to be the kind of person saying, "Ayyo, idu aachu, adukku dhaan na onnu pannala." So how can you say onnu pannala? We can, okay, I can't do this or that, but I can do so many other things, right? So na enna pannena, enoda main idea enna munnadi enna irunduchuna, maximum education, because nothing can beat education. People can say anything about you, but they can't take away your education. Right? And when I entered the business, I realized whether people like me or don't like me, they can't take away my numbers. So whenever I had something that I could add to my kitty that was that nobody could take away, because I was somebody where everything was taken away so young that I keep betting on things that remain forever. So consistency is a big part of what I believe is necessary. So I would say, so aggressiveness is a bit of a, I wouldn't use that word, but I would say I don't take no for an answer, sir. Poite irpena idu illena adu illena vera edavudhu, but I will keep moving. So, and I also feel the world is growing so fast. Like sir said, the e-commerce has come, digital has come. Now after COVID, something else is going to become. So I will say my biggest strength out of skill sets, family, all of that, I would say I'm very adaptable. My adaptability levels are very high. I'm like that an amoeba. If you push me here, I'll grow like another. Like they say, like I'm a phoenix. Like I was telling my dad, I said, I'll keep coming back from the ashes. So, and I believe we all can. I believe we all can. It's just a mindset. So,
Ma'am, suggest you to write book. There are a lot of one-liners in your.
You like my one-liner?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. We have another question from Rotarian PK. I'm not sure.
I think I have to turn into an honorary Rotarian then now.
Prabhu Kumar.
Prabhu Kumar.
Good evening, Anjali. You are truly inspiring. In fact, I am a big customer of Indian Terrain. Your super dry T-shirts are awesome. So I use them regularly. I've got two questions.
Yes.
One is that when your profile was briefed for a long time, so there are a lot of things that you do. So which means you must be a champion in multitasking. So I want you to share about how do you multitask. That is one. Second thing is that you are an youngster, so I'm sure you must be. You are an ambitious leader. So probably 10 years down the line, where would you be? These are my two questions.
Four questions. Each one is like coming out with guns. Question number one. Multitasking, even though I'll tell you, I think most of us are not, at least let me admit, we are not fans of it, because I think if most people are left in peace, we would like to do things sequentially, one after another. But unfortunately, the competitive edge often between us and the guy right behind us is the ability to multitask more than him. So one of the things, so I have, a lot of people make a lot of fun of me. I keep sticky notes. I keep to-do lists. I don't trust the human brain. Okay. Number one, because the only thing you can trust the human brain to do is you can trust it to forget. So I do not do anything without taking notes. So I have, whether it be my device, whether it be my laptop, whatever it is, because all of us as leaders have 100 directions that we're given to 5 different people. But the question is, do you remember what you told that guy? And will that guy remember what you told him, and so on and so forth? I'm sure you all experience this in your organizations. So whether I've led big teams or small teams, I always keep track of what has to be done. And I also always have a priority list, because I think most of us would like to do 10 things in a day. Realistically, you can only do 3. So do we have a clarity on what those 3 are? Or do we start 10 things and finish nothing by the end of the day? Some of those things are the biggest enemies of multitasking. So what I do is, number one, I keep lists. I don't trust people's memories. I pretty much don't. I don't even trust my own brain, because even though I have a good memory, I'm sure that I at some point must have given some instruction that I will not remember, or at least I will not remember at the right time. So besides keeping notes, I do priority lists. I plan a lot. I set processes, even for this motivational speaking that I'm doing now. I have a team of 5 people. I have an ERP system for them also, because guaranteed, if you leave them to their own resources, each one will be doing whatever they feel like, and we'll never achieve the purpose that we want to achieve. So whether it's a small team or a big team like Indian Terrain, I always plan. I don't spend more time. I don't have long meetings. I don't have a meeting that is longer than 20 or 40 minutes. I'll not spend more time in a meeting than one Zoom call. So it's, I find that a couple of the enemies of multitasking is spending too much time in meetings. People spend more time in meetings than doing what they discuss they will do in the meeting. So so these are all some of the things that I watch and take care of, which help me multitask. So we can only manage 2 things, sir. One is our energy, and one is time. And I would say we can manage energy better than time. So I manage my energy first, and I manage time next. And there are some things that I will just not do, because I believe that the person, my next level, can actually handle it. So I'm not going to take my time getting into that, because I believe they can manage that on their own. I think if anything, I have some clarity of thought. So I start my day with a plan. I end my day with a plan. And if there is anything pending from that day, it will be included in the next day's plan, whether I'm at work or not at work.
Okay.
And I think not having things written down in one place itself is detrimental to multitasking. And second question of yours was, where do I see myself in 10 years?
10 years,
so
right.
I think that, you know, especially being in e-commerce, I'm in a rapidly evolving industry, which I believe I will benefit from going to business school, which is what I had said in the beginning, that I'm applying for 2021 admission. So I think 2 years past that program, I would like to get into large scale e-commerce consulting. That's what I would like to do, because I would like to work with bigger numbers and with bigger scale. And that's where I would leave it as of now. I don't have, I mean, InterRain obviously is going from strength to strength. My brother manages the other company, which is Celebrity Fashions. I believe that I am yet to find my next big opportunity. So 10 years from now, I will come back to you and tell you where I am.
Okay. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you.
Personally, I want to ask you that question, but PK was ahead of me. What was your next in your plans? Now
Can
we have
tell
a
you,
question.
hopefully Harvard will say yes. Let's pray.
Oh, we wish you good luck, Ms. Anjali. All the best to that. And we have a question from Rotary Environment from Coimbatore.
Sure.
Over to you, Environment.
Everyone, sir?
Yeah. Rotary Environment, unmute your.
நீங்க unmute பண்ணுங்க. Okay.
Green ma'am, this is Vairavan from Rotary Club of Coimbatore.
Nice to meet you, sir. Good evening.
To TexCity. Such an inspiring story of yours. I have 2 questions. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
The first question is, today's youngsters, all of them, they want to taste success in their career early, at an early stage. Most of them, it's becoming difficult to instill the confidence in them when they have a failure. So what do you got to say to today's youngsters when they have a couple of failures to face it? How to, as you said, a phoenix to bounce back from that? The second question is, we are into the construction industry. So we are into the space of developing commercial spaces. So we were in the process of talking to the reputed retailers. So where do you see in this situation, continuing the talks with them, with NACs or people like you or Reliance Retail, or we have almost completed about 60 or 70% of the project. So right now we are stuck in between because one of our tenants is PVR and another tenant we have got to talk to the other retailers as such. So I just wanted to know where the mindset of the retailers in this kind of situation.
Okay, I will answer in reverse. Okay. So let's answer in reverse. So, yeah, you know, in terms of, I think right now, I mean, I think cash hemorrhage is the biggest concern for people. So I think you will need to look at whichever companies that you have who are not necessarily so cash strapped. And I mean, Reliance, I don't think you should have a problem with Reliance personally. I mean, in the sense that as an organization itself, they are not, you know, they're very, very wise in terms of their cash reserves, and they are not, you know, you won't find them up any problematic creek at any point. But I think in terms of continuing conversations about ongoing projects, I think if it's companies which have, which are a little more conservative, are larger, have sustained for a larger period of time, I think you can go ahead and try to go back to a business as usual approach with them specifically. But I think the other ones you may have to kind of look at, like you said, if the project is 70% done, since I'm not an expert in your profession, but I'm just saying that, you know, you may want to get out of it with a minimum hit rather than assume and pray that things will get better. So for example, if you, you take companies like Coromandel or TI or whatever, these are all like cash rich company, very healthy companies. So, you know, in terms of they're not worried, like COVID will only, for example, I was listening to Mr. Velayan talk the other day, and he said that this COVID will only take away 50% of next year's profits. So they are that. So companies like his companies like Reliance, all of them, I don't see you experiencing an issue. So please continue your bets over there and let that continue as normal. They will bounce back. With the other projects which are a little more unsecure, see how you can get out of it with the minimum haircut. I would suggest because they're going to take unless they have some access to some money, but I don't know who has access to money. Even I'm looking for money. So it's like, that's what I would advise. with that particularly. And then as you continue to expand, because you should, now that we've experienced this COVID, go for guys who are not in such a badly cash-strapped situation, because even with investors, many of them are like pulling out. So, it's going to be a while before they find themselves with any kind of liquidity. And the first thing that they're going to stop is an ongoing project. So, so that would be my only advice, or, 2 bits on that. The other part is much more interest, at least to me, because you said youngsters, and you had mentioned that, how do you give them back the self-confidence when they have a failure? Now, I'm reaching out to all of you on this call, this is an issue with parenting, okay, personally, because I feel like the parents of today are now raising their kids to believe that they're special. You are not born special, okay? You can only work very, very hard to achieve some kind of special status, and that will be after pursuing excellence for a very long time. So I think the youngsters, the reason they feel that level of depression or sadness is because they feel they deserve something. You only deserve it if you've worked very, very hard for it. So if they have, then yes, it is difficult, and they usually have to find something else to do or give it another shot. But my guess, and I'm sure you will agree with me, is that 90% of the people who feel sad are the ones who have probably not tried very hard, but just believe that it should be given to them because they exist. And that's really not a very good thing at all. And I find that to be a very Gen Z, Gen Y kind of problem. And I'm also a millennial, but I'm like on the higher side. I think I'm the first or second year. But I've always been trained to believe that we don't just deserve something. We can only work for it. And if you work hard enough, you still may get it. And I believe that the biggest issue is we are always preparing people or youngsters. Okay, idu kadicha enna pannuven plan pannuvom. Seriya? Idu kadaikala na enna pannuven plan pandrathu kadiyadu. And if you take even an IIT, less than 1% is getting in, 99.9% is not getting in, and there are zero plans for that 99.9%. யாருமே இதை பத்தி பேசுறது இல்ல. Ideally, சரி, எல்லாம் whatever you work for, அது கிடைக்கணும். I wish the best for everyone, but mathematically it's not possible, right? So, especially with the very highly filtrative programs, like, like the CAT exam, or I'm just talking about exams because I'm doing one right now, but I'm just saying a job or an exam or whatever opportunity, it's only if everything is lined up perfectly and you give it your best shot, are you going to get it, especially in a competitive country like ours. So the chances for disappointment are much higher than the chances for success. And I feel that there is very little planning for disappointment because the bounce back time is too long. Like if this doesn't work today, just say, because I think the person will know if they've given it their best shot or not. I think you will know, I will know, Selvakumar sir will know, we will all know. So my point is, if they have to give it another shot, let them get back up and give it another shot. Or if it is not for them, let them look at their skill sets and then pick something else which is equally good. Because ultimately, I'm sure when I took a step back from Indian Terrain and I said, I'm going to become a motivational speaker, people were like, what are you doing? And now that I'm doing this and addressing such an esteemed gathering like yourself, everyone thinks I'm great. So it's all perspective, right? Ultimately, whatever you do, whether it's Indian Terrain, whether it's speaking, whether it's education, whether it's travel, just they have to give it their best. And I don't think, I think while rather than commiserate with them for what has happened, I think the conversation of what next or what is your response is more important. So as a leader or a parent or a friend or whichever situation you find yourself in, it's just the bounce back needs to be faster and sharper, given that we're sitting in a 2020 world. And I think this the tendency to feel sorry for oneself is a little bit large, I find, because these mothers, okay, they will pamper these boys and will wake them up they're like some 20-year-old boys, okay, they wake them up at 2 o'clock, feed them, send them for some tuition, cheri kanna ni adu pannittu va adukapro kadikkalena, the mothers are like, so I think a lot of it is a parenting issue, and some of it is a having to wake up and smell the coffee kind of issue.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Why don't this answer is $1 billion answer to you, so better contribute for TRF this year much more than what you've done so far. So thank you. It's all a later
I didn't
thank you,
get that.
Vincent. We have a question from, we're running short time. We have the last two questions. One will be from Rotary Mahesh Somasundram. Mr. Mahesh Somasundram, you there?
Yeah, I'm there, but I think, can you hear me?
I can hear you, sir. Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Good evening, Anjali, and it was great about what we have been listening all through the time right now. Well, again coming back to the e-commerce part, we are running a compatible cartridge business where we offer economical solutions for the printers which you use on the desktops.
Got it.
Given your experience, what are the basic elements for a company to build its e-commerce module on their website? That is one. Secondly, what are the disciplines that a company should follow or continue to make it successful?
Excellent question, sir. I'll answer in sequence. One is, first is towards the e-commerce. Now, number one, the noise on the internet is so much that putting ourselves in front of the eyeball is the most difficult challenge. Okay, so my first step to anybody wanting to step into e-commerce would be, please start with partners and platforms that already provide similar products. Okay, unless yours is a very, very specific product with a very, very specific customer set. If you are looking to scale up and looking to find more business, I would suggest you look at partners like Flipkart and Amazon, which will first help you promote the product and then place it in the right areas on their platforms. And those are obviously affiliate. So you can start doing sales through them. Once, obviously, for your already loyal customers who are going to be repeat customers, I would suggest build a seamless website with, you don't need, because of your kind of product, you don't need bells and whistles per se, but you need a much more seamless customer user experience, customer journey. So I would say, if you haven't built a site already, find a partner who will build you a site that is seamlessly integrated into e-commerce. Issues, there are certain concerns to if you really want to be successful in this space. Besides partners, if you want to look at your own site, your payment gateways are extremely important, because this is where most of the time we have also found trouble in the past. So, and of course, I doubt you will have an issue with warehousing, like I said, because how many different products will you have? Like, not many, right? I mean, how many would you have in terms of different products?
We would be having about 150 different 150, models,
which is in my opinion fairly manageable. Like and I come from my point of view, because obviously at any given point in time I've had upwards of 40,000 SKUs, so which is like chaos. So if you have 150 and you want to say put them all on your e-commerce, you can set up a fairly straightforward inventory module and find the right kind of partners to do so. Best practices, I would just say who's building your site, payment gateways, user experience, and your partner platforms. These would be your four. These would be the 4 things to watch out for.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you, ma'am. And we have in PDG Joe Willower having a question for you. Are you there?
Sir, you unmute பண்ணிருங்க sir.
So you there?
So next on the Pamela Suresh.
Our assistant governor from Coimbatore, Rotary Pamela Suresh is here. She has a question for you.
Yeah. So Miss Anjali, good evening.
Good evening. Hi, Pamela. How are you?
Yeah, hi. I'm good. Thank you so much. I think nobody can be better than you, especially to face it. And so you clearly knew what you want and you achieved it also. My question to you is, how much of where you are today or how you made it would you attribute to the higher power, or was it any miraculous outcome, or the approach was it any different in a miraculous way?
I think it's actually I get a lot of people who ask me that question. I am not I mean, while I believe that there's a power much greater than me at play, I am not somebody who believes that what happened to me happened because of God, and what how I escaped, so-called escaped from it, is also because of God, because that makes God half good and half bad, right? And you know, that is always that isn't an easy thing to make peace with. So I believe that whatever has happened in this world for me was meant to happen, and whatever, the higher power has definitely given me the strength to find strength within myself when I had no outside strength, or to find, or given me the ability to see opportunity when everything was black. Because I was still seeing a vision when I was blind. I was still seeing travel when I couldn't walk. I was still able to visualize education when I could not read. I could still visualize respect when I hadn't seen people in a year. So I always was able to mentally visualize and mentally be able to summon the energy and the, I guess, the strength to go and pursue that. And if at all there is a higher power, I think he or she or it has given me the strength to be able to do that. So that is what I would say. But I don't leave much to chance, Pamela. I'm one of those people who will practice 101 times, because I know for a fact that things will go wrong. So if anything, I usually bet on my own abilities, and I believe that I always believe that I'm only doing half of what I potentially could do, and even today I'm only at 50% of what I could end up achieving. So it is that absolute belief system that I have. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, we have another question from Rotin Vandana.
Oh, now some ladies are coming. I'm happy.
Rotin Vandana, over to you.
Vandana, you can unmute.
Hi, Anjali.
Rotin Vandana, are you there?
How are you? Lovely picture.
I'm good. I'm a physiotherapist. So I have a question. ஒரு lady leadership or lady entrepreneur இருக்கும்போது, do you think it is an advantageous position in any way, or is அது ஏதாவது வித்தியாசம் இருக்கா?
I am actually not a feminist. Okay, so I don't believe that we have an advantage or a disadvantage. I think that yes, in general, from a countrywide perspective, Patana, yes, you know, there was an age and stage when women were not coming out of the house and all, but I think adella nariyave it's gone, has passed us. I think we are living in a world where I think men and women have a fair amount of equal opportunity. I think ஒரு women leader இருந்தா இப்போ you can definitely achieve and prove more, because there is enough competition with men. So for a man to stand out and be a great leader is harder than if for a woman to stand out and be a great leader today, because there is still very much less in number of us trying to achieve the same thing. So I would say it is actually an advantage to be a woman, because there are not that many having gone before. So you can be someone who sets an example for generations to come.
So Vandana, I think now you can brave all odds and surge ahead. You're already a champion. Yeah, now we have Rotarian Joe Villavara back asking you a question, ma'am. Over to you.
Yes.
Rotarian Joe, you can ask a question.
He is our past district governor from 3212.
Oh, lovely to meet you, sir. Good evening.
Good evening, madam. Good evening, madam.
Solunga, sir.
It was a very inspiring speech, especially from FMCG product. But we are in the logistic industry in Tuticorin for the last 50 years. Is there any message for logistic people about e-commerce?
I think you should be very happy, sir. Anybody who's in logistics, because I am telling you, the future of post-COVID situation, the country is going to be largely dependent on e-commerce. I think the opportunity is very large for you. I think, you know, while other people are feeling a sense of panic, you should actually feel you should be doing a war dance, And please explore all possible opportunities, because all companies, whether they have a robust e-commerce presence or they do not, trust me, they are all planning for one. So over the next 5 to 10 years, we are going to see a significant shift, because now that this pandemic has happened, people are always going to have that mindset, ki tirpi aidumanu. Tirpi edavadhu aachina enna pannuvom. So people are going to start buying more in bulk. People are going to start buying online more. I think it will be a while before people feel safe again to go out into stores with 100 million people in a mall or whatever. So I would say this is the right time for you. And if you are in the logistics business, please aggressively reach out to all the companies who not just are in e-commerce, but ones who could potentially be entering that space as well. I think you will find a lot of opportunity there.
Yes, madam. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, I have a few questions for you.
Yes, yes.
What is your take on offering the same products and services online and building e-commerce and digitizing as a response for this COVID situation?
I think it is first of all not just an excellent idea, it may be the only idea. Okay, number one. Number two is, I feel like because we already, luckily in India, we already have robust platforms like Amazon, Myntra, Flipkart, all of that already, with the kind of budgets and spending and reach that they already have. You will not have to put in the kind of money that you have to in setting up a store or doing your own marketing, which is why when I answered a gentleman's question earlier, I would not encourage you investing much in your own site. You let your own website just be a kind of a showcase so people can see what they can get, because your distribution can seamlessly and at scale continue to proceed with the platforms that you have available. So I think that e-commerce is not a bad word. I think a lot of people, a lot of the older generations who are into traditional marketing tend to think that. The only reason people think that is because of the discounting theme that is always there across the board with e-com, right? The issue is, I don't want to devalue my product. You can always you don't have to offer the same product on both channels. You can also do a capsule line specifically for e-commerce. Or you could take another approach where you work the discount into your MRP so you're not losing any money. The other person is just getting the idea that they are getting a discount. There are multiple ways to scale this, but the beauty about e-commerce is that technology will not let you down. Because right now we are in a situation where people, health, everything is a variable. So I would definitely say that the transition into e-commerce is not difficult. I did it myself, and I transitioned into e-commerce in about 44 days. 44 days. I set up a marketplace, a warehouse, and I was there across 8 to 10 platforms in 44 days. So it is possible.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Another one is about the discounting factor. Another is about the credit period which your current your clients are used to. When you switch over to e-commerce, that's a little bottleneck you need to work on.
No, and it's very exciting to get money every 15 days, sir. The rest of the guys sitting in the next desk to me is sitting in some other channel. He'll be crying and shouting on the phone about some payment and all. For me, it just comes into our accounts. Because luckily you're dealing with Jeff Bezos and with Walmart, right? In principle. So luckily when these companies, especially you're doing business with your partners who are American company owned, they don't have this kind of policy. So you will get paid. So I think in essential, the slight devaluing that you may feel in your heart for your product, you will make up in terms of in scale and liquidity.
Sure. Thank you, ma'am. And how about the Indian companies to become more proactive than being reactive? I think this partially answered the first question itself. If it's time, the first question itself, I think the part of the answer is other part of the question is answered. Anything more you want to add on?
I think we tend to a little bit. I think we have a slightly binary kind of situation in our country. You have areas like Bangalore or Delhi, Gurgaon, and all, who are operating like mercenaries. They are looking for opportunities. They are into technology, into e-commerce. All your IIM guys are going there. You have that. And then you have the traditional companies that are in other parts of the country, which are not yet touched by this bug. Okay, this aggressive bug of wanting to scale and grow. So my point is, growing fast is not necessarily a bad thing if you have technology backing it, because technology is not like people. People often are scared that if you make your millions overnight, what if you lose them overnight? Right? But I think those are very traditional thoughts, and I don't think are relevant in the age and stage we are in today with the kind of technology backup that you have. So whether it be e-commerce, whether it be app development, whether it be automation, whatever it is, we all need to bet on the side of technology, and we need to bet faster. So because the guys in Bangalore are speaking the same language that they're speaking in Seattle, but you go 30 kilometers away and the other guy is saying, this is my shop, this is the problem, blah, 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 and whatever. And chances are the guy with the shop has probably more liquid money and access to it than the guy who's doing e-commerce. Okay, most of the time that's the case. So I'm not sure if we are in such a bad position as we may see ourselves in. It's just more of a fundamental paradigm shift in what we believe is business to what it may actually eventually look like. But once we can make that paradigm shift, your business is your own. It never goes out of your hand. And ultimately, when you get a few smart guys who help you with the tech, you're pretty much just giving what? You're giving wings to a bird to fly, right? Ultimately, same bird.
Yeah, you're right. Thank you, ma'am. Friends, always the time factor comes and breaks and stops many good speakers. And also, we are a couple of friends asking question. I think we can't go forward now. I am sorry to show those Rotarians who want to ask some question.
I'm
மனசு
welcome.
ஸ்ட்ராங்கா இருந்தால் என்ன வேணாலும் thank you. மனசு ஸ்ட்ராங்கா இருந்தால் என்ன வேணாலும் சாதிக்க முடியும். Your bad health or you're down with an accident, you're emotionally down, keep your mind strong, very strong. Believe in your passion, take things very aggressively. This is what I learned from you today, ma'am. Thank you so much. I really loved all of us behalf. We all love listening to you, and we are more energized.
One final question from me.
Solunga Selvakumar sir, you are my guardian angel.
No, not like that. Actually, I am one of the Indian Terrain customer for the last 4 years.
Okay.
Aggressive customer.
Aggressive customer.
Madam, இந்த தலை வந்து உங்க கஸ்டமர்னு சொல்றாங்க அஜித்.
Is it? Okay.
நிறைய பாத்தீங்கன்னா அவரோட ஃபிலிம்ஸ்ல எல்லாமே பாத்தீங்கன்னா உங்களோட பிராண்ட் தான்.
Okay.
How do you manage தலை?
How do I don't manage him, sir.
How do you company? How do you deal? I think உங்களோட TTK ரோடோட ரெகுலர் கஸ்டமர்னு கேள்விப்பட்டேன்.
TTK ரோடோட அந்த டீம் செமையான டீம் செல்வகுமார் சார். அவங்க கிட்ட எல்லா ஹை ப்ரொஃபைல் கஸ்டமர்ஸ் தான் வருவாங்க. So அவங்களே they'll be thinking of themselves a very high part of Indian Terrain. They're a wonderful team. Their customer service is excellent. So a lot of people நிறைய என்ன பண்ணுவாங்கன்னா வந்துட்டு ஓகே நீங்களே செலக்ட் பண்ணி அமைங்கன்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. So நிறைய ஆக்டர்ஸ் அங்க வந்துட்டு ஷாப் பண்ணுவாங்க. The store is big. It's very good.
Even அஜித் வந்து எந்த பிராண்டும் ரெக்கமெண்ட் பண்ண மாட்டாராம், உங்க பிராண்டை ரெக்கமெண்ட் பண்றாராம். அந்த அளவுக்கு அந்த ஸ்டோர்ல வேல்யூ இருக்கு.
Yes, no, definitely. In fact, I think he lives very close to my house. Maybe we'll start sending shirts there directly. Okay. But no, I'll tell you one more person in the Mahesh Babu Nariya, he wears our clothes only. Mahesh Babu wrote films there. So we have actually been a very product-driven brand. We are actually not, my father is also the same way. We are not, while we love all our customers equally, whether they are you or whether they are Tale, you're all equally important to us. Because I think all of you wear our clothes and make them look wonderful. So, yeah, we just hope to continue to make the kind of products that you all love, and Tale also likes, and the other Tale Dhoni also likes, and all the Tales of the world want to wear. So I guess, Yanina, we have to quickly get back to work and start designing something for you to wear next season, post-COVID.
Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Selvakumar sir, I wanted to share one thing. If anyone wants to reach out with questions and all, my team has been incessantly sending me messages. I'm supposed to announce my social handles. I am available at Anjali Rajgopal Official on Facebook and Instagram, and my website anjalirajgopal.com is coming very soon. So you please welcome to reach out to me. I'd be happy to do another session, available for anything for you guys. So I learned a lot today, and all of your blessings and wishes are just wonderful, and I couldn't have asked for more.
Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Selvakumar, you should invite her to the family of Rotary. I think this is an opportunity to.
I think I just should become an honorary.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you. Thank you.
ஒரு அன்மியூட் பண்ணி எல்லாம் ஒரு கிளாப் கொடுத்துடலாமே.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. You're unmuted all.
Team is Selvakumar sir. My team has shared links share பண்ணிருக்காங்க sir. Social share பண்ணிடுங்க.
Okay madam, நான் ஷேர் பண்ணிறேன் madam.
Okay, share பண்ணிடுங்க. Thank you all. It's been an absolute.
Thank you all.
One second. Okay.
Thank you.
Over. Vote of thanks. Anna, vote of thanks போயிரலாம்.
சார் அவர் மியூட் ஆயிருக்காரு.
Vote of thanks. Hello. Yes. Vote of thanks by Rotary and Ravikumar from Rotary Club of Tiruppur East.
Good evening, one and all. Thank you for a wonderful evening, and I really apologize. I was joining little late. I missed many the interesting part of your speech today, and thank you for all everyone joined this wonderful evening. Really, it is a good gathering. I thank President the Madras Chandram and the organizer, the Selvakumar and other team. Really, you are doing some like this good programs you are arranging. Thank you all once again. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
thank you,
sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Finished, Selvakumar sir?
Yes, madam.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, madam.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, madam. Good night.